How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Thank you for watching this special presentation by QUTV. By the students, for the students.
They're going to be asking 2 questions to each of the professors here. The professors are not articulating their own views. They're only defending the candidates, so don't get that confused when we ask questions later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a 5-minute opening statement by each of the professors, and then the panelists are going to ask questions, and then later on we will open it up to the audience for questions. So by default, Dr. Manning is going to start as President Barack Obama.
Everyone, think not so much about whether you agree or disagree with everything that President Obama has done, but think about the qualities that President Obama has as a person. What do we know about him? Number one, we know that he is very intelligent. He didn't get into the Ivy League schools because his father was the president or his father was a governor. He was not born into the elite class. He's achieved what he has achieved through his own intelligence and his initiative. He wasn't born into the elite class. And if we learned anything from the Bush years, we've learned that it's really important to have a president who's intelligent and not intimidated by intelligent people, not intimidated by generals, not intimidated by other politicians, and not intimidated by heads of corporations. And Obama has shown his intelligence in numerous ways. He's also non-ideological. He's not bent on one side or the other. He talks all the time about being open to ideas from all different sides of the spectrum. And he's genuinely an American pragmatist looking for ideas that will help the American people in the economic problems that he inherited. He's also, we know, very calm under pressure. Everybody who's in the White House behind the scenes says the same thing about it. Even in the most pressure-filled situation, Obama remains calm and reasoned. And like no drama Obama. And that is a huge quality to have when you are probably the most important leader in the world with all kinds of military capacity at your fingertips. And he's also very mature and has a very stable personal life. So in his second term, he will not do anything puerile like have an affair and undo everything that he's working for. Now, if you look at the combination of these qualities, extremely intelligent, non-ideological, and open-minded to all sides, a genuine pragmatist, very calm under pressure, and very mature. When have we had a president who had all of those qualities together? I'm 50 years old, and I don't think in my lifetime we've had a president, other than Barack Obama, who's had all of those qualities. Now and then if you look at the other side, he's running against the Republicans. Now, the Republicans have apparently learned nothing from the economic crisis of 2008 and 2009, because they say the same thing that they have for the last 30 years. Their answer to everything is to cut taxes, especially for the upper classes, and deregulation. And they just hope that the American people haven't understood that those two policies have created incredible problems for almost everybody except the elite. They're hoping that we're too stupid to understand that. The Republicans have nothing to offer, and they remind me of the line from Scripture in Proverbs, like a dog returns to his vomit, a fool returns to his folly. The Republicans have nothing to offer this country except returning to their own folly. And Americans will not do it.
There we go. Thank you. Is it? Can you? All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Can you hear? Is it? All right. I grant Dr. Manning's argument that Barack Obama is a good man. He's just a very bad president. Some things that were simply not discussed in the opening. When Barack Obama took office in January of 2009, the unemployment rate was 7.8%. It has never gone below 7.8% while Barack Obama has been president. For 44 straight months, the unemployment rate has been above 8%. That is the longest in history. When you factor in the number of people who have actually given up looking for jobs, the real unemployment rate today would be at 11%. The Bureau of Labor listed at 8.1%, which is higher than it was when Barack Obama took office. 23 million people are without work in this country, and Barack Obama has done nothing to help them. What has Obama done in office? Well, he spent a lot of your money. He's quite adept at that. In just 4 years, he has doubled the size of the national debt. All 4 years, he has run a federal budget deficit of over $1 billion. The economy under Barack Obama is as weak as it ever has been. The price of gasoline when Barack Obama took office in January 2009 was $1.87. It is now $3.83. It has doubled. It was almost $2 more than when Barack Obama took office. Barack Obama has done something the past 4 years. He has made matters worse, which is quite incredible. He must be given credit for trying, and I will give him credit. He has done the best job that he is capable of doing. That is the problem, and that is why this country needs a change. Barack Obama had a slogan 4 years ago, hope and change. Well, the country has neither right now. Mitt Romney will restore this nation's economy because he understands that Americans do build the economy. Unlike Barack Obama, who goes around telling the country that you didn't build that. Yes, Mr. President, we did. And Mitt Romney understands that. Consumer confidence is at an all-time low. And one of the reasons is because this administration is antagonistic toward the free market system. Mitt Romney is an effective businessman. He will work with the business community, not just Wall Street, but Main Street, to get the country moving again. The economy right now is stalled. In the second quarter, the gross domestic product grew by 1.2%. That is anemic. This economy is not moving, and Barack Obama owns the economy. It's his economy. It's his failure. Now, are all the Republican policies going to make everything better? No. But we do know that Barack Obama's policies make things worse. That's why we are in the mess we are in right now. Not because of George W. Bush. He's gone. Barack Obama is responsible for the past 4 years. He offers nothing for the next 4 years. Mitt Romney, it's time for the people to give him a chance. God knows things couldn't get worse.
Thank you both for agreeing to do this. It takes a certain amount of courage to stand up here and defend somebody else's policies. This question is directed to both candidates because it affects both candidates' foreign policy. So, a recent Stanford NYU study did a survey of 130 detailed interviews about the president's drone strike campaign in Afghanistan. And I want to ask both candidates ask both professors what their candidates should do in the future about drone strikes. President Obama's administration has had more drone strikes in the last year than the entire George Bush administration combined. All 8 years. And this, according to the NYU study, people live in fear and terror of drone strikes going across their houses every night. There have been targeting of funerals of people who have already been killed. So when the people would come to the funeral, then the drone strike would come again. And so I wanted to ask Dr. Manning, what is Barack Obama's justification for the drone strikes? And then I would like to ask Dr. Coffey what he thinks that Mitt Romney will do differently when it comes to Afghanistan.
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. There's no question that Barack Obama has increased drone strikes in Afghanistan. And Barack Obama is part of a different way of looking at the war on terrorism. Obama increased the troop strength in Afghanistan to try to make that situation more stable. But then he sent a clear signal to the Pentagon that we weren't going to be there forever. We've been there for 10 years. And the American people will not sustain several more years and several $100 billion every year in Afghanistan. So we have to draw down our forces, and we have to fight terrorists in a smarter, more efficient way than putting 130,000 people in a foreign country. We can't afford it. It costs us a lot of lives. We've had enough of that since 2001. But when we leave Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda is not just going to leave. Al-Qaeda is still out there. And a much more effective way of combating extremist groups is to get drone strikes to take them out. And that is the Obama policy. And I don't think that any other president, at least you need a president who will at least avoid the foolishness of another huge ground invasion, like some of the Republicans are talking about in Iran. And so the drone strikes, although I don't approve of every drone strike, but the drone strikes as a weapon against the extremists is much more effective than 5 more years of our soldiers, 100,000 soldiers in Afghanistan.
I know that Mitt Romney is going to continue the drone policy. Barack Obama asked his attorney general for the legal opinion, and the Justice Department, Obama's Justice Department ruled that these are legal, and second, they do not violate international law. To give credit to the Obama administration, they have increased them. The Obama administration also, of course, deserves credit for the raid on Osama bin Laden. There is one key difference here in Afghanistan between the Obama policy and the policy Mitt Romney has articulated. Barack Obama has set a policy that he will have all troops out of Afghanistan by 2014. He has set a sharp deadline. Mitt Romney has said 2014 should be the target date for withdrawal from Afghanistan, but he will listen to the generals on the ground for advice as to whether or not all the ground troops should be removed from Afghanistan by that point in time. You made the point earlier that Obama listens to his generals. Well, he has set a hard timeline for this, regardless of what his generals have said, and I think Mitt Romney is right in this. 2014 should be looked upon as the exit date for Afghanistan, but if the generals disagree, it can be extended beyond that.
All right, gentlemen. Again, thank you for being here and being willing to do this. My question is somewhat general in the sense that I want to know, we've all been somewhat inundated lately in the media with recent images of the 47% video that is out there on Mitt Romney talking at a dinner party for private donors about 47% essentially of the electorate not being in his grasp. What I want to know about that is, from both candidates, is that if that is really the case, if this country is as divided as that comment, whether dismissive, pejorative, however you want to look at it, that comment may have been, what do you do as a candidate in order to try to bridge the gap? If 47% are on one side, 47% are on the other, and we're just fighting for the middle. How would your candidate actually bridge that gap?
I want to, again, thank you. We didn't I think we neglected the introductions. This is Dr. Jonathan Miles, Dr. Ken Oliver, and Dr. Megan McCarty is moderating. Thank you all for being here. Well, one of the things that I would say is, yes, this is a divided country politically. I think Mitt Romney would say, and many Republicans would agree, that one of the reasons why there are divisions in this country is the way that Republicans and Democrats look at the role of government in society. For a couple of generations, the Democratic Party has essentially taken money, given it away, and tied a good part of its electorate to the strategy of, if we have a government that provides for people, they will vote for us. That is essentially what Mitt Romney was trying to say. He put it in very impolite terms. This division, this ideological division, it seems to me, is the fault of the Democrats and the liberals who have sought to divide this country along these lines. It's not the Republicans' fault. How do we broach this? How do we bring people together? Well, you can ask the Democrats to stop acting in such a manner that divides the country. Mitt Romney will be a much better uniter than Barack Obama. The country is more divided today than it was 4 years ago. Barack Obama promised to bring this country together. Sometimes I just wonder what country he was talking about, because this country is not more united than it was. Mitt Romney, one of the first things we can do, Dr. Oliver, is elect Mitt Romney as president. That will help.
Well, if we look at the famous 47% quotation that Romney made to these group of wealthy donors, he essentially insulted 47% of the American people. And I don't even know what 47% he was talking about. He said that 47% of the American people don't pay taxes, and they think of themselves as victims, and they live off the government. So if you're raising a family of 3 kids on $30,000, Mitt Romney thinks that you're just a victim, and you're just living off the government. You know, if you're retired, you fought for this country, maybe you fought in World War II, you fought in Korea or Vietnam, now you're retired and you're living off a pension, and you're not paying taxes, you're not paying income taxes because you're retired. Well, you're part of the 47%. You know, he insulted a lot of people. And what he was doing was talking to rich donors and repeating a Republican line that the Republicans protect the wealth and the Democrats just want to hand out for everybody and live off the rich people. And
It's true.
this is,
It's not a line.
it's an outrageous, offensive, morally offensive, incredibly objectionable statement. You know, a lot of our economic problems were caused by the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest classes, which the Republicans want to just continue. And you have Mitt Romney, who criticizes ordinary working class people, and he doesn't release his tax forms. The only one he's willing to release shows he made $10 million in interest, and he only paid 14%. And it's the only one he has the right to, it's the only one he's willing to release. He makes $10 million, and he only wants to pay 14% of the tax, and he wants to lead this country and convince us that he's going to unite all the classes. He hasn't made a very good start.
Can I have a quick rebuttal? The point is...
I don't know if we're rebutting. I think we're just answering the
Okay,
question.
all right. All right. All right.
Go for it.
What Romney, and I'll grant you, inarticulately said was that there are a large amount of people who get handouts from the government, and the government asks nothing in return. Second, the rich pay the wealthy that 1% an inordinate amount of taxes. For example, corporate taxes are 35%. That's the highest in the industrial world. Third, what you are talking about and what critics of the Republicans are doing, and what Obama has done all throughout this campaign, is to preach class warfare. The original question was about why this country is so divided. Because the liberals of this country have been preaching class warfare for the past 4 decades and have divided people. It's not the Republicans who are doing the dividing. It is this us against them mentality that the left preaches, and this antagonism toward anyone who makes money. And for that reason, the Wall Street, the past 4 years, has been afraid to invest because they know that Barack Obama is antagonistic toward them.
When has Barack Obama ever said anything against wealthy people or antagonistic toward people who hire people or run the companies? You know,
When has he ever said anything good about them?
the
Dr.
Bush-
Manning, you have 2
Yeah.
minutes of rebuttal.
Okay. You know, this is all over. All this animosity language is unnecessary. You know, the Bush administration cut the tax rate of the wealthiest people from 31 to 27. And when they did that, this and not paying for the wars, which they put on the national credit card, caused the budget deficit to explode during the Bush years. Now, all that the Obama, the great socialist communist, all he wants to do is restore the tax rates back to the Clinton era. He doesn't want to take 75% of the taxes of the wealthy, which is what's being considered in France. He just wants to raise it a few percentage back to what it was in the Clinton years, because we have a huge problem with the deficit. And a large part of that problem is not unemployment insurance for people who get laid off that the Republicans want to cut, even when they want to reduce taxes for the wealthy even more. The problem is not ordinary working class families. The problem was not paying for the wars that they fought, which the working class and the middle class fought for them, and the tax cuts for the wealthy that really imploded the deficit. It doubled the deficit in the Bush years. So let's just have some common sense. The class that's done the best in the last 20 years are the wealthiest people. Just take 3-4 more percentage and put the tax rates back where Clinton had them.
That's time.
That's it. It doesn't make you a communist or a socialist.
That's time. Dr. Bacardi, your question?
In the past year, people have described what has been sort of a reunited war on the rights of women in the United States, and I was wondering how both of your administrations would deal with protecting the rights of women that exist now in the United States and furthering the role of women in America.
Well, I think Obama's record is pretty clear on that. The first thing that he did in office is sign the Lilly Ledbetter Act to protect discrimination, job discrimination against sexual discrimination in the workplace, and protected the country, the women of the country, from the extreme conservatives on the Supreme Court, which had ruled and vitiated that. So the first thing the Obama administration did is extend that and make sure that it actually had some teeth in it and protected women in the workplace, and that they got equal pay for equal work. That was the first thing he did when he got to the White House. I think he set a clear signal that he's a modern person who believes in equality of the genders, and will live that in his personal life and live that in his policies, and that's been very clear from day one. So every women's issue out there, Obama is extremely strong on. And the new generation of crazy Republicans is extremely anti-woman. And I don't think we need to, I don't think we need to repeat ourselves of this Aikens commentary to give you a good idea of what this Republican mentality is in terms of women. This is dangerous for women. This new Republican mentality is dangerous for women.
The idea that the Republican Party is launching a war on women is a figment of the liberal media's imagination. It is wishful thinking on their part. There is no war on women by the Republican Party. This is a complete red herring. All the Republicans have tried to do, and very simply, was keep the idea that there is no more important freedom than religious liberty. The Obama administration launched an attack upon religious liberty by telling institutions that they must violate their moral teachings. You want to talk about a war on women, then you have to say that there's a war on religious freedom. The individual conscience and religious liberty are more important than the state. Barack Obama and the liberal Democrats don't understand that. They believe the government can tell an institution what that institution must believe and must practice, or that institution will be in violation of federal law. That's not what this country was founded upon.
That's time. Dr. Miles, your second question.
So I want to address a question that really came up during the Republican debates. the Republican primary debates, and it was a deal. The deal was, this was asked of all the Republican candidates, including Mitt Romney, would any of you accept $10 of cuts for every $1 of tax increase? Right. This was asked during the primaries. Would you accept a deal with the Democrats in which there were $10 of cuts for every $1 of tax increase? And every one of the Republican candidates said no. And I'm curious as to whether you think that Mitt Romney's has changed, because that seems like a fair deal. And for both of you, how would those $10 worth of cuts and $1 worth of tax increases be best spent?
No. You don't raise taxes, certainly in times of a recession. We're in an economic recession right now. The worst thing to do would be to raise taxes. Mitt Romney has specified a plan in which he will cut, on average, $500 billion a year from the deficit. Right now, the 2012 budget deficit is 24.3% of the GDP. Historically, federal the federal spending has been 18%. All right. All you have to do is return federal spending to traditional levels, and in a decade's time, you can balance the budget. But you should not have to do that by raising taxes. You said in your opening statement that the Republican Party's policy has been the past couple of decades very simple, just to cut taxes. Well, the Democrats have an even dumber answer and even more simplistic, just raise taxes. That doesn't do anything but harm the economy. If it did, then 2 years ago, Barack Obama would have let the Bush tax cuts lapse. He didn't. 2 years ago, Barack Obama said we needed to extend the Bush tax cuts during a time of a recession, because even he knew, and I'll grant he is a smart man at times, that you cannot raise taxes during a recession. So Mitt Romney has absolutely rejected that plan. You can balance the budget without having to raise taxes.
Well, you could do it, but you would have to make severe cuts on middle and lower class people, and the poverty rate in this country would expand a lot. And Romney has given no clear plan of what he wants to do. And no economist has said that his plan makes sense and he's put solid proposals to actually cut the deficit. He says he wants to cut taxes on the wealthiest classes even farther. And how is that going to do anything except cause the deficit to increase? But, Jonathan, your question about the $10 for the $1, this happened this summer. Here is Obama the compromiser. He alienated people in his own party to talk about cuts in programs, to reach out to the Republicans and say, okay, just give us a little bit more revenue on the higher side, and we'll do most of the work here, and we'll cut. And just give us a little bit.
That's time.
And they wouldn't do it.
Dr. Oliver, your question.
All right, gentlemen, this has been fun. I'm really feeling it. One thing that we see in election season is candidates making attempts to sort of pander to their base. And I'll give a couple of examples of this. President Obama, when you were running, one of your stances was on out against gay marriage. Governor Romney's changed the position from what he ran on as governor with abortion versus what it is currently. I guess what I'm wondering is, and Dr. Manny, you alluded to this a little bit in your last statement, in what ways do you all see your candidates actually being able to buck their base in order to actually get things done in Washington?
Well, I think Obama showed a lot of strength and the ability to sort of buck the base when he put those budget cuts on the table. So, and he finally came around to the gay marriage. So that put him maybe not bucking the base, but definitely more in the vanguard of the leadership on that question. So.
I think Mitt Romney his positions on social issues in particular are more to the center than the average base voter in the Republican Party. I do think that as president, Mitt Romney would be someone who would be able to at least have a conversation or a dialogue with people who the Republican Party has not been welcoming to. I mean, the Republican Party right now obviously has a problem reaching out to certain segments of society. There's no doubt of that. There are groups who feel very alienated and afraid of the Republican Party. I think Mitt Romney, his time as governor of Massachusetts showed that he was able to work with Democrats, and I do think that he is centrist enough on social issues to at least be able to engage people.
One of the key issues that I've talked to my students about is higher education. And since we have a number of students here, I was wondering how both of you would be able to guarantee students access to higher education in your administration.
I think this is obviously an issue where one issue, and I'm offering my personal view here, that I don't see a great deal of difference between the two candidates, particularly when it comes to the federal student loan program. The Romney positions on education in terms of No Child Left Behind are substantially different than the Obama administration's policies. But in terms of higher education and access to higher education, I think that at least Mitt Romney will offer the opportunity for college graduates to get a job after college, something President Obama has been very lackluster at doing so far.
You know, there's actually a very clear difference. This is one thing that Obama has done. Students don't know about it, but he restructured the way students get loans to cut out the middleman. He defied the power of the financial industry in this country, which is a very, very difficult thing to do, and a very powerful lobby, and extremely the wealthiest lobby in the world. He defied their power, restructured the way you can get a student loan so that you can get it directly from the government, take out the middleman. And he increased funding for student loans, and this is another thing that the Republicans just want to cut. And of course, Romney's famous line on this is, if you want to go to college, just borrow money from your parents. So that shows you. Well, I mean, if you're born a millionaire, that's a great strategy. But unfortunately, not everybody is. Of course, if we elect Romney president, we'll all be millionaires because he'll magically save the economy and make us millionaires.
All right, that's time. All right, so how's the evening going, everyone? Good? Yeah? All righty. All right, so now we're going to open it up to you guys to ask them questions. I ask that when you guys do this, be respectful and know that they're only defending the views of the candidates They're not portraying them, and they're not saying that they're own views. So with that in mind, if you guys have a question that you would like to ask either one of these gentlemen, raise your hand, and myself and Richard, who's going to have a mic, will come to you, and then you can state your name and ask away.
My name is Mozart Jerome. My question's for Dr. Manning. In December 31st, 2011, Obama signed the NDAA that indefinitely held American citizens without trial. And recently, it's just been deemed unconstitutional, but he's still going for the law, and it's still on the books. Why is he still in justice? And yeah.
I'm glad that you're concerned about that, and I am too. And I don't support everything that Obama's done. But, I mean, in the wider issue of this, Obama came in saying close Guantanamo Bay and no more torture. And he wanted to close Guantanamo Bay. He wanted to put the major culprits of September 11th on trial in New York. That was politically flammable in this country. He got lambasted for trying to do that. And he hasn't closed Guantanamo Bay, which is a real problem for me and for lots of other people. But that there still is, that population has been sorted through and reduced by, there's only about a quarter of the people who were there who used to be there. And so you still have a problem of detaining people who actually have been vetted, not just picked up by accident in the wrong place at the wrong time in Afghanistan like the Bush administration did for years, but actually vetted through the process and judged to be dangerous to let loose. And this is the remnant of the problem. And this is why I assume this is why Obama has taken this stand on this, because you have to have some authority to actually detain these people whom you've judged that it's dangerous to let go. I mean, I'm with you. I don't support Obama on this particular one, but that's Obama's thinking on it.
Hi, my name is Drew. My question is for Professor Dr. Manning. Your opening statement stated that President Obama is a very intelligent individual. So my question is, when he came out and ridiculed the Bush administration as far as him being unpatriotic for the debt that he had caused, why, when he went on Letterman, couldn't even actually answer the question what the debt was when he came in office? And he's approximately raised the debt approximately 6,300%. So my question now is, if Bush was unpatriotic, how patriotic is Obama?
Well, I didn't see the he didn't know exactly the figures on the national debt. Is that right? In what it was?
Yeah, it was just Letterman just asked him what's the debt right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's think about the debt. In the Bush years, the debt went from 5 trillion to 10 trillion. Now the debt is 16 trillion. This is a huge, huge problem, okay? But what happened is we had the economic crisis, and every intelligent economist in the world was saying, you know, this is a huge crisis on hand. So that was you needed massive stimulus, or our economy and the world's economy would be much worse than it is right now. Now, that was something that Obama didn't want to do. It was, the situation was really forced upon him. But 5 to 10, what did people get for that 5 to 10? Well, you got the Iraq War, and which was supposed to cost $80 billion, ended up costing over $1 trillion. And you got tax cuts for the wealthy. Now, what have you got in Obama? Obama, you took the deficit from 10 to 16. But here's money to have a more efficient car. If you want to put new windows on your home to save money on your heating bills, here's money for that. There are several programs that the Obama administration has actually done to help the American people in their situation. This is what's happened with the money. You know, it hasn't just gone out the window, and it hasn't all gone to foreign misadventures. So we've actually benefited from this, and the stimulus really helped maybe not save the economy, but save it from an absolute devastation.
Did any of those things actually help people get a job? Because unemployment has actually gone up. I mean,
well,
when you
if
spend
you want
money
to talk about the auto bailout, do you want to talk about how many jobs were saved?
I'd like to talk
Let's
about
go one at a
facts
time.
because
Romney actually
I mean,
opposed
Dr.
the
Manning.
auto
Facts.
bailout. So,
Dr. Coffey, you can go.
I can go? All
Yeah.
right. Well, okay. All right. You know, it's funny, in the past 3 minutes, you've mentioned 4 things Obama has either been forced to do or didn't want to do that he did. Presidents are supposed to show courage. He hasn't gotten rid of the Bush tax cuts, has he? Something he said he would. He hasn't done that. He said he'd repeal the Bush tax cuts. Didn't do that. He said he'd close Guantanamo Bay. Didn't do that. He said, Dr. Manning pointed out, he didn't want to spend $787 billion, but he did that. He said that he would be a leader. Well, we all know that wasn't true either. Nothing that he has done has made the economy any better. In 4 years, he has driven up the debt more than George Bush did in 8 years. And you keep coming back to Bush. Bush is gone. It's Obama's economy, and he has failed the country.
well, Republicans would love to have us believe that. Republicans would love us to believe that the economy was just rosy in 2007, 2008, and that all the problems began in 2009. But like what most Republicans say, it's a very self-serving distortion, and there's no truth to it.
Well, there's truth to the unemployment rate.
The unemployment rate in America is 8.1.
Yes.
Which is too high.
It's higher than it was in January 2009.
Dr.
Well,
Coffey, same thing.
In January of
applies.
2009, the devastation of the economic crisis was just starting to hit. How many millions of jobs were lost in 2008, the last part of 2008, when the real economic crisis hit? So, you know, it's amazing that Obama has actually had positive months of job growth. Do you think that they've had job growth in other economies? In the European Eurozone, the unemployment rate is over 11. In Italy, it's 11. In France, it's 11. In Ireland, it's 15. In Spain, the unemployment rate is 25. This is a world economic problem. We are lucky that we have someone like Obama who's actually trying to solve it for most people rather than have somebody like Romney who doesn't see the problem and only the wealthy classes will benefit from the solutions that he proposes.
All right, we're going to move on to other questions.
Hi, my name is Kristen Anguiano. I'm a faculty member in the School of Education, and my question is for Dr. Coffey. Dr. Coffey, I was wondering if you could explain to me something about the Republican ideology which has baffled me for many years now.
All right.
And as far as I can understand it, and I try to understand everything through logic that makes sense. And from what I can gather, the Republic ideology is that capitalism really should be the foundation of American economy and free enterprise, correct?
The free market system, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And so everyone has, it's the American dream, everyone has equal opportunity, so everyone should have their own small business. Everybody has the chance to make their own money, and only the people who are lazy are the ones who are not making money and can't support themselves and are sucking off the government, right? Okay, so that's what I'm sort of understanding by Romney saying, where he didn't think that the camera was rolling, that the 47% of the people who just want to suck off the government and are lazy and don't want to support themselves. Okay, so as far as I can understand, this whole free market system is getting back to the original Constitution, and I am not a history professor, but my understanding of the Founding Fathers was democracy and justice for all, which would not mean democracy and justice for those who have successful businesses and we just step on the people who can't take care of themselves. So how do the Republicans, how do they reconcile this ideal of free market, everyone for themselves, and the people who are poor are just lazy and sitting at home, with our Founding Fathers' mission for this country of equality and justice for all? I mean, Horace Mann was the one who said free education for everyone, right? I mean, I don't think he would have said education only for the people whose parents have wealthy businesses and the other ones can just, you know, lay in the gutter. Okay, I'm going to stop talking.
I think what you have laid out is a very good question. And it is very clearly the dividing line between the two ideologies in this country. The Republicans today believe in equality of opportunity. Everyone should have the opportunity to succeed. The Democrats want to force on this country equality of results. And that is, if you don't want to work hard, we, the government, will reward you anyway. We will give you something that you don't have to earn. That is not the traditional American way. There is in this country the idea that if you work hard, you can get ahead. Over the past 2 generations, the left, and to be fair, not all liberals, and I'm not saying this, many on the left have argued that it is the role of the government to essentially flatten out society. The Republicans argue what that does is disincentivize work. Because if you don't have to work hard and you still get handouts, what's the incentive to work? You talked about Europe earlier. One of the reasons Europe is in such problems is because the European social democratic states guarantee for their populations all of the things you were talking about. Everyone gets literally everything free from the cradle to the grave. Well, who pays for it? Well, the bill has finally come due. And all those countries are now broke. The Republicans don't just support the elites. There aren't a lot of elite rich people in Nebraska, in Oklahoma, but those states vote Republican. Why? Because the people in those states understand what the Republican Party stands for. And I might incidentally, the people in those states are pretty smart. Now, if you are going to argue that the Democrats offer people more choice, why is there more poverty under Barack Obama? The past 4-year poverty rates have increased. It doesn't make any sense that the Democratic Party policies help the underclass, that poverty would increase the past 4 years. The Republican Party believes in equality of opportunity. That's the American way. Not the French. The French talk about liberty, equality, fraternity. Our system is based upon liberty and freedom and opportunity. But it's equality of opportunity, not result. And it is not the government's role to ensure equal results in society.
Yeah, no one believes or argues that you could ever accomplish equal results in society. This is a straw argument. But, you know, let's just do what Obama wants to do. You know, let's stop calling each other names. You know, let's talk about this class and this person lives off this person and this person is cows. Let's just stop calling names and let's just have a common sense approach to our problems. You know, we have a serious budget deficit. We have too many poor people. We have a lot of unemployed. And we have a class of extremely super wealthy people who've had their taxes cut consistently for 12 years. Is it so wrong to turn to them and say, let's just put your tax rates up a few percentages where it used to be? Because we all have some problems now. And if we all do a lot better and the society gets a lot better, maybe we'll lower them back. We're not calling you names. We just need more tax money from your income level. That's it. And let's stop calling each other names. That's what Obama wants to do.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question.
I think, hold on.
Yeah, the students, yeah, if they want to leave, yeah.
Well, what we're going to do now is, if you guys would like, you can leave, but if you still want to ask questions, feel free to stay and ask away. If you're a freshman and you want to have your passport signed, go into the back there.
Okay, we don't want to stop this, and Dr. Coffey and I are willing to keep going, but we know that if you have an obligation, because we've been going for an hour, then don't feel bad about slipping out. But if you want to stay, we'll keep going, and there's some more questions, so we could keep going. So we'll keep going.
Okay. And again, if you're a freshman and you want the intellectual part of your passport signed, go back to the Nolans back there, and they can sign that for you.
Oh, dear. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Okay, well, we could try to start again.
Hello, this is Jeremy Culver with QUTV.
Okay, if you guys want to ask more questions, we can start again.
Yeah, so, all right. I'm going to get him first.
Hello, this is Jeremy Culver with QUTV. While the debate is on hiatus, we hope that you will stand by as we continue our question and answers with the students on campus. Thank you.
Day one has said that once he gets into the office of the president, the very first thing he's going to do is try his best to repeal Obamacare. Would you mind walking us through?
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Finish your question. Yeah.
Would you mind walking us through what exactly Mitt Romney plans to do and what kind of time scale we can depend on for its full and total repeal?
All right. I think this is a vitally important question. Mitt Romney has, as you said, one of the first acts that he wants to do as president is to repeal Obamacare. Now, a few weeks ago, one of his advisors said on television that Mitt Romney would keep in the bill, it would keep in place the coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. There's been some confusion in the Romney campaign over the past few weeks. Now, this is, again, people know we're not speaking for the candidates. Right now, there is some confusion. The latest thing is the Romney campaign has said that they will, people who have had health insurance cannot be denied when they enter a new plan, when they change plans, all right? The second thing that the Romney campaign has said is the Romney campaign has said they will offer waivers to all 50 states in regard to some of the requirements, particularly the Medicare and Medicaid requirements, so that the states can essentially opt out. But the Romney campaign will require the Romney administration would require that the states offer some sort of comprehensive plan, particularly to the indigenous. The other, a couple of other points that Romney has said, he has said that he will take back the $700 billion that the Obama campaign, that the administration has used for the Obamacare. They essentially have taken money from Medicare and put it into Obamacare, for lack of a better term. The final thing, this is a big difference, is that Romney has promised that he will get rid of the individual mandate, a mandate forcing every individual to buy health care again, whether they want to or not. Now, the Obamacare really goes into effect in 2014. If Mitt Romney is elected, it never will. But those are kind of the four major things that Romney will change.
Is there a question about health care? I mean, you want to talk about health care? I mean,
I'd like to, my name is Pamela Myers. I'd like to direct this to Dr. Coffey. Returning to the issue of education.
Yeah.
You briefly mentioned No Child Left Behind.
Yes.
So I would like to have you expand on primary and secondary education.
Okay. If you look at the Romney website, right, the Romney website is very clear, and Mitt Romney is very clear, that no Child Left Behind has been a disaster. Okay. Now, what Barack Obama has done in the past 4 years is essentially, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I think waive the requirements for the tests because certain states were not going to meet the requirements and they were granted waivers. Is that what the?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. What the Romney position on, particularly on No Child Left Behind, is that the federal government has simply taken too much control of the nation's education system. And that what you have now are these federal mandates placed upon responsibilities that really should be at the state and the local level. So what the Romney campaign is going to do, and they're very clear on this, is they are not going to tie federal funding to these federal mandates. They're going to loosen up on that. They're going to allow much more testing across the board by the states and local levels. And they're going to, they very much believe in the concept of federalism, that education in particular has always been at the state and local level. And they're going to get rid of a lot of the requirements that are now very onerous and very burdensome on local school districts made by the Department of Education. You will see substantive changes because this is an area that Republicans and Democrats differ greatly about. Now, George Bush got tricked into Ted Kennedy into signing into the No Child Left Behind Act. Mitt Romney has said that he will all but do away with that law. Well, he did. He was tricked into it.
This was George W.'s big domestic accomplishment. I don't see how you can blame this on Ted Kennedy. But, you know, what the Obama administration has tried to do is take the inherited system from the Bush administration, No Child Left Behind, which is ridiculous, and try to take the best elements out of it and gradually phase out the rest, like teaching to the test and these forced mandates and stuff like that. So, yeah. Any other questions?
It's about job. Okay. Hi, my name is Marina Tikhanovich, and I try to understand. Look, you're talking a lot about how bad our economy right now, and I understand that Mr. Romney is very some sort of magician, good guy who help a lot for people of China by taking job from American people and transfer businesses all overseas to China and create a lots of job in China. And some people from Republican Party, they create businesses and job in India and Mexico, China, overseas, everywhere overseas. So my question is, you took job from American people, transfer for other nations. So how you plan to help American people to get job? how you plan to help us have job and make better economy inside our country.
Well, see, I mean, he has no plan. Okay, go ahead. Okay, good.
Okay, Mitt Romney, his Bain Capital created jobs. It did. Yes, okay. There was some outsourcing in China and in Mexico. True. Every American company outsources. Every corporation does. Bain Capital was not the only one. Now, your question about Mitt Romney's job policy is very different than Barack Obama's. Barack Obama had a job policy when he came into office, and he said that the way to stimulate the economy was to spend, stimulus spending. He spent $800 billion. It didn't work. The unemployment rate went up. Mitt Romney has, again, go to his website, he has a 5-point program. A couple of the highlights are, again, we differ on this, but you cut taxes. You cut regulations. Those are the two biggest things holding back the American economy right now. There are too many regulations on business. Mitt Romney, in answer to your question, actually does have a track record of creating jobs. At Bain Capital, he did. He works very effectively with those on Wall Street. And Wall Street right now is not hiring because Wall Street right now has no confidence in Barack Obama because, I'll use this word again, Obama is hostile to Wall Street. And if you have a president who's hostile to those who make money and who goes around saying, you didn't build that, or enough is enough, or it's time to spread the wealth, he said all three of those things, you obviously have a business environment that is unstable, and that's why they're not hiring, because there's a lack of confidence. That lack of confidence will not go away until Barack Obama goes away.
Well, Obama tried to re-regulate the financial industry so it doesn't destroy the world's economy like it almost did a few years ago. It came very close to actually destroying the world's economy. And the Republican Party's answer to that is, let's deregulate some more. Now, in the face of that, any logical, sensible person is trying to re-regulate the financial industry. And yes, now the financial industry is against Obama. Gee, what a surprise. Yes, they don't want any fetters. They want a free hand to do the irresponsible things that created a lot of wealth, an incredible amount of wealth for them, and endangered the world's economies. And they want a free hand to do it again. Now, does government have a responsibility to prevent that from happening? Don't we learn anything from our mistakes?
Dr. Coffey, you can do a rebuttal if you would like.
I'm a history professor. I've learned a lot from the past.
Well, this is very recent.
And I don't want 4 more years of Barack Obama. The country didn't want 4 more years of Jimmy Carter, and they were right. I hope the same will be true in 5 weeks.
Well, I don't think it's going to be. I think the Republicans are going to get trounced because they have been successful in the past generation at convincing people somehow to vote against their own economic interests. But with the collapse of the economy and the devastations of the Bush years, people have awakened, and they are not going to allow that to happen again. Okay, let's have a question.
Stand up and have to state where you're going.
I'm Bridget. Hi. This is for Mitt Romney. One of the major issues that I think is happening in our country and our world right now is the issue of abortion. And I know it's a really sensitive subject to be talking about. And I do know what Obama's stance on it, and it does break my heart to know what he supports. But I was just wondering what Mitt Romney would be doing to help and avoid this issue, and what he'd be doing during his time as president, I guess.
Do you want me to?
That,
okay.
That's your
It is, as you said, I mean, abortion is a very difficult subject. Mitt Romney, for most of his career, has been pro-choice. That is, he has supported, for the most part, certainly when he ran for governor of Massachusetts, what he called a woman's right to choose. His positions on abortion has, as he has put it, this is how he has put it. He has said that his position on abortion has modified, and that he is in most instances against abortion right now. Now, it is the position of the Republican Party, and this is the position of the Republican Party, that life begins at conception. Now, the big thing, the fundamental difference between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney when it would come to this issue, and this is the biggest, I think one of the biggest things, is their appointments to the Supreme Court. The next president will have at least 2 people to appoint to the Supreme Court. Now, if Mitt Romney wins the presidency, he would appoint 2 justices. It is possible that Roe versus Wade could be either substantially changed or possibly overturned. Possible, but this is, if you care about this issue, again, as you pointed out, it's a very sensitive subject. If this is an issue that is important to you, the Supreme Court makes a tremendous difference. And whoever serves the next 4 years will change the makeup of the Supreme Court for at least, what do you say, 10 years, 20? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really what it's about. It's about the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Tiffany Nolan, Student Affairs. This is for candidate Romney. Candidate Romney's record in regards to Bain Capital in bankrupting companies that Bain Capital purchased and leaving people without pensions and without retirements is relatively extensive. So my question is pretty basic. How is candidate Romney not going to do that to the American people?
That's a very objective question. Yes. I would take, and in all seriousness, I would take Mitt Romney's experience as Bain Capital as an executive over Barack Obama's as a community organizer. Because we have seen that over the past 4 years, Barack Obama has been successful in a couple of, and again, I mentioned this earlier, he deserves an enormous amount of credit for his handling of the war on terrorism. And I think almost all Americans approve, certainly of the way the raid was handled on Osama bin Laden. However, he has demonstrated a fundamental inability to understand the nature of the American economy. The American economy, I mentioned this before, economic growth in the second quarter was 1.3%. That is 44 months into Barack Obama's presidency. Mitt Romney is a businessman. He was a highly successful businessman. The answer to your question about how he will not bankrupt, first of all, the country is bankrupt because of all of Obama's spending. But Romney will work with the people, just say it, on Wall Street, who help run this economy. If Wall Street is not working, which it has not been, because the major corporations are not investing. They are not investing in human capital. Romney will get them to work. And I'm telling you this, and this is a part of his platform. He has said he will cut corporate taxes from 35% to 25%. Corporate taxes are the highest in the industrial world. Cutting corporate taxes will spur economic growth.
You had mentioned before about defying logic. So I wanted to ask the same question because this is one thing that that defies logic for me for progressives. And it's this. President Obama has admitted that he smoked marijuana. There are pictures of him smoking marijuana. And if he had been caught and arrested, he would never have been president of the United States. And yet, the president says that he is not going to do anything to decriminalize the thing that if he had got caught doing, the people that he's put in jail, right? If he is going to continue that war on drugs, which, by the way, is a huge amount of the deficit, is the law enforcement involved in drug. And he has made more raids on medical marijuana dispensaries than the Bush years at all. So help me understand why progressives don't want to stop the war on drugs, because it makes sense that it's a progressive tax of the poor. It is it causes huge amounts of money in the federal deficit. So why doesn't the president decide to make legal what he did?
Well, I can only speculate that Obama thinks that the country as a whole is not ready in some certain Hegelian sense, which I'm sure you can appreciate. They are not ready to accept the legalization of marijuana. And well, you know, Obama gets called a socialist and a communist and a Muslim and all kinds of things for saying completely rational, accepted things. So I don't think he's the person to be in the vanguard of that, you know. And I think what we need is we need 4 more years of Obama. And we don't need 4 more years of another Republican in the White House. That will be a devastation for the country. Right? That's the bottom line. So the progress on that issue is, it's Hegelian. It's not here yet. Hegelian, it's happening, it's a gradual overcoming, but it's going to take a long time. And no, he's not one of those people who's pushing the envelope on that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, this will be our last question before we wrap up.
Hi, I'm Charlie. President Obama, you said earlier that you wanted to put more regulations on Wall Street and businesses, correct? And that they almost
He's been trying.
Destroyed the world economy? Yeah. First off, how did they almost destroy the world economy? And how does putting more regulations and stopping them from making more money stimulate the economy rather than the other way around?
Well, I think maybe a good thing to see is PBS did a 4-part series called The Meltdown on the economic crisis. And it tried to explain to the American people in terms that they could understand how close the world came to a complete breakdown. And there was actually a meeting where the Treasury Secretary and the chairman of the Fed called the president and the vice president and the key senators in the finance committee and said, we need to meet with you. And they said, they tried to set up a time next week. And they said, no, we need to meet with you tonight because the economic system is about to collapse if you don't recapitalize the banks, which is an emergency procedure, a mass infusion into the capital system, in the private corporate system of government cash. And those actions in the fall of 2008 actually saved the collapse, not just of the American economy, but of the world economy. Now, the repercussions of that caused a serious economic decline for years in the United States and really all over the globe, but especially in other developed societies. And a lot of other economies around the world were heavily invested in the American real estate market and the American stock market and other American enterprises.
And so there were actually governments around the world that almost went broke because of their heavily investment in our economic system. So again, if you have the time, every American should watch this 4-part series and understand how close foolish Republican policies brought the world. Now, you certainly had Democrats, it was Clinton that repealed Glass-Steagall. So you had Democrats go along with this, but the driving force and the driving ideology of this deregulation and letting financial markets do whatever the hell they want, and it'll all work out great for everybody, this is the Republican ideology.
Dr. Coffey, do you want to respond at all?
Well, the economy needs regulations. Unregulated economy in this day and age simply would not work. And I do think it's somewhat an exaggeration to say the Republicans don't want any regulations. The question really comes down to how burdensome are these regulations? And what Romney is arguing is that the bill, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, was passed 2 years ago.
Dodd-Frank.
Dodd-Frank. Several thousand pages long, and imposes so many new regulations and so many codes that it has made, that it has essentially inhibited new investment, new banking, innovation, and all of that, because it is just onerous. And that's where the fault line lies. Dodd-Frank, Mitt Romney sees as something that is just an overreaction and has, in fact, had a deleterious effect on the economy. And again, this is the last thing I'll say tonight. 8.1% unemployment rate, 1.3 economic growth. Happened under Barack Obama and his rules and his laws like Dodd-Frank.
Alrighty. So we're going to start cleaning up now. If you guys want to ask Dr. Manning or Dr. Coffey a quick question before you leave, feel free to do so. Just want to let you guys know that we have members of QU Voice here tonight. They're leading some voter registration drive stuff on campus and then in the community. So if you guys aren't registered, go ahead and do that so you can vote for either one of these candidates or the other 4 that aren't being represented here tonight. So student senate meetings are on Tuesdays in room 207 at 9:15 if you guys feel free to come. So other than that, student senate members and anyone else who wants to help clean up so this place can look like it's ready for breakfast tomorrow.
Watch the real debate on Wednesday night. Wednesday
Yeah.
night.
This is Jeremy Culver with QUTV. We'd like to thank you again for joining us for this presidential mock debate. Please stand by as we get some student reaction to the discussions that were made today. I'm Jeremy Culver. I'm standing here with Danielle Dunn, who is a junior. Danielle, how did you think the presidential debate went today?
I thought it was great. I learned a lot about the presidential election coming up. I thought the candidates, the professors, shared the opinions of the actual candidates very well. Coming into this debate, I was kind of iffy on which candidate to go with, and I definitely learned a lot coming here, so it was very beneficial.
As I will not ask what you're going to decide to vote this year, but what's one thing that you're going to take from here that you really did not think about before coming?
I think just doing more research on my own, because I hadn't done so before coming to the debate tonight. And by doing that, then I'll learn even more than what they shared tonight, and I know that there's a lot more that I should know before going to elections.
All right, well, thank you again for standing with us. And next up, I have Sean Mankey, who's a senior. Welcome, Sean. All right, how did you think the debate went?
I think the debate went really well tonight. Both candidates made some very strong points, but I think the candidate that stood out the most was Dr. Coffey. His responses were very clear, very concise, and I noticed he was taking notes throughout the entire program, showing that he was ready for any kind of rebuttal at any given moment.
And one thing that I'll ask is, what's one thing that you did not know going into the debate or did not know much about that was cleared up to you throughout the debate?
Quite honestly, I was not very familiar with how the economic situation in Europe is impacting us here at home.
All right. Well, thank you again for stopping in with us, and I hope you have a great night. And that's all for us here at QUTV. I want to thank you again for joining us for this year's 2012 presidential mock debate. On behalf of QUTV, I'm Jeremy Culver. Have a good night, people.
Thank you for watching this special presentation by QUTV. By the students, for the students.